Rosa had always been the responsible one in her family. At 19, she worked 2 jobs while studying at the local community college. Her mother needed expensive medicine for her heart condition, and her younger brother Diego was only 14. Every penny mattered in their small house on the edge of town. The morning everything changed started like any other. Rosa was serving coffee at the diner where she worked weekends when a well-dressed woman approached her table. The stranger had kind eyes and spoke softly. "Excuse me, dear. I couldn't help but notice how hard-working you are. My name is Linda, and I run a placement agency for young people looking for better opportunities." Rosa wiped down the table, listening politely. She had learned to be cautious, but this woman seemed genuine. Linda wore expensive clothes and carried herself with confidence. "I have a position available in the city," Linda continued. "It's with a family who needs help with their household. They pay very well, and you'd have your own room. The family travels a lot, so you'd essentially be taking care of their beautiful home." Rosa's heart skipped. The city was only 3 hours away, but the job opportunities there paid twice what she could earn in her small town. She thought about her mother's medicine bills and Diego's upcoming school expenses. "How much does it pay?" Rosa asked, trying not to sound too eager. $1,500 a week plus room and board," Linda replied with a warm smile. "The family is very generous. They understand that young people like you are working hard to support their families." Rosa nearly dropped her coffee pot. That was more money than she made in a month at both her jobs combined. She could finally help her family properly and still continue her studies online. "I know it sounds too good to be true," Linda said, noticing Rosa's surprise. "But the Johnsons are a wealthy family who values loyalty and hard work. They've had trouble finding someone trustworthy." Over the next week, Linda visited Rosa twice more. She brought official-looking paperwork and even showed photos of a beautiful house with a swimming pool and manicured gardens. Linda explained that Rosa would start immediately and that the family would provide transportation to the city. Rosa's mother, Carmen, had mixed feelings about the opportunity. "Mija, it sounds wonderful, but why don't you visit first? Why do they need you to start so quickly?" "Because their previous helper left suddenly for a family emergency," Rosa explained, repeating what Linda had told her. "They need someone reliable right away. Mama, this could change everything for us. I can send home more money than I make here in 6 months." Diego was excited for his sister. "You always take care of us, Rosa. Maybe it's time someone took care of you, too. That house looks amazing." The night before Rosa was supposed to leave, she felt nervous butterflies in her stomach. She packed her few belongings and wrote a long letter to her family, promising to call every day and visit soon. Linda arrived early the next morning in a nice car with tinted windows. "Ready for your new adventure?" she asked cheerfully. As they drove toward the city, Rosa chatted excitedly about her plans. She would work hard, save money, and maybe even bring her family to visit the beautiful house. Linda listened and nodded, occasionally asking questions about Rosa's family and friends. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Linda asked. "Anyone who might worry if you don't call right away?" "No," Rosa replied. "Just my family. I promised to call them tonight." The drive took longer than expected. They stopped at a rest area where Linda bought Rosa lunch and insisted she eat everything. "You'll need your energy," Linda said kindly. As they continued driving, Rosa began to feel drowsy. The landscape outside looked unfamiliar, and she realized they had been driving for over 5 hours. "Are we almost there?" she asked, struggling to keep her eyes open. "Very close now," Linda replied, but her voice sounded different somehow, less warm. Rosa tried to stay awake, but her eyelids felt heavy. The last thing she remembered was Linda making a phone call in a language she didn't understand. When Rosa woke up, she was in a small, windowless room. The walls were concrete, and there was only a thin mattress on the floor. Her head felt fuzzy, and her mouth was dry. She called out, but no one answered. Hours passed before someone finally opened the door. It wasn't Linda. It was a large man who spoke roughly. "You'll work here now. Do what you're told, and you won't get hurt." Rosa's blood ran cold as the reality hit her. There was no wealthy family, no beautiful house, no legitimate job. She had been tricked, and now she was trapped. That first night, alone and terrified, Rosa pressed herself against the cold wall and whispered the words that would haunt her dreams. In that moment of complete despair, she made herself a promise. She would survive this. She would find a way to get word to someone, anyone who could help her get home. She thought about her mother and Diego, probably worried sick and waiting for her call that would never come. But Rosa was stronger then. Linda had realized. She had been taking care of people her whole life, and she wasn't going to give up now. Carmen paced around her small kitchen for the 100th time that evening. The clock on the wall showed 9:30 p.m., and Rosa still hadn't called. Her daughter was never late with her promises, especially something as important as calling home on. Her first day at a new job? Maybe she's just busy getting settled, Diego said from the couch, but even he sounded worried. You know how Rosa is. She probably wants to make a good impression on her first day. Carmen shook her head. No, mijo. Rosa would call no matter what. She knows I worry. She picked up her old phone and dialed Rosa's number for the 10th time. It went straight to voicemail again. By midnight, Carmen couldn't sit still anymore. She called her neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who had known Rosa since she was little. "Carmen, what's wrong?" "You sound upset," Mrs. Rodriguez said, instantly alert despite the late hour. "Rosa was supposed to call tonight. She started a new job in the city today, but I haven't heard from her. This isn't like her at all." Mrs. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "Did you meet the people who hired her? Did she give you their contact information?" Carmen's heart sank. "The woman who hired her said the family valued privacy. Rosa only had her phone number, and now that's not working either. Carmen, I think you should call the police. Something doesn't feel right about this." The next morning, Carmen and Diego went to the local police station. The officer at the front desk looked tired and uninterested as Carmen explained the situation. "Ma'am, your daughter is 19 years old. Adults have the right to go where they want without checking in with family. Maybe she's just enjoying her independence." "You don't understand," Carmen said firmly. "Rosa calls me every single day. She wouldn't just disappear. She's responsible. She helps take care of our family." The officer sighed and pulled out a form. "I can file a missing persons report, but honestly, most of these cases resolve themselves in a few days. Young people today." Diego stepped forward. "My sister isn't like that. Something's wrong. Please help us." Meanwhile, in the city, Detective Lisa Chen was reviewing files at her desk when a new missing persons report landed in her inbox. As she read through Carmen's statement, several details caught her attention. A 19-year-old girl offered a job that seemed too good to be true by someone who insisted on privacy and quick departure. Lisa had seen this pattern before. She immediately called Carmen's number. "Mrs. Morales, this is Detective Chen from the city police. I'm calling about your daughter Rosa." Carmen's voice brightened with hope. "Did you find her? Is she okay?" "I haven't found her yet, but I want you to know that I'm taking this very seriously. Can you tell me everything you remember about the woman who hired Rosa?" Carmen described Linda in detail. Her expensive clothes, her kind manner, the photos of the beautiful house, and how she had visited multiple times to build trust. "Mrs. Morales, I need you to be very brave right now. What you're describing sounds like it could be human trafficking. These people are experts at making job offers sound legitimate." Carmen felt her knees go weak. "What does that mean? What happened to my Rosa?" "It means we're going to do everything in our power to find her. But I need your help. Do you remember anything else? The car Linda drove? Any paperwork she showed you?" Back in her concrete prison, Rosa had been trying to stay strong for 3 days. She barely ate the food they brought her, and sleep came in short, restless periods. But Rosa was observant. She had always been good at noticing details, and now her life might depend on it. She listened carefully to the sounds around her. Footsteps in the hallway, doors opening and closing. She could hear traffic outside, which meant they were in a city. Sometimes she heard airplanes overhead, so they might be near an airport. The man who brought her food had a tattoo on his wrist, a small star with numbers. Rosa memorized every detail. She also noticed that he always locked the door from the outside, but there was a pattern to when he came. 3 times a day, always alone. Rosa began to formulate a plan. She wasn't just going to wait to be rescued. She was going to help herself. Detective Chen worked late into the night, cross-referencing Rosa's case with similar disappearances in the area. She found 4 other cases in the past 6 months. All young women. All offered jobs that sounded too good to be true. All disappeared without a trace. She called her partner, Detective Mike Torres. "Mike, I think we have a trafficking ring operating in our area. I'm looking at 5 missing girls, all with the same pattern." "What do you need?" Mike asked immediately. "I need to interview the families of all these girls. I think they were targeted the same way. And Mike, we need to work fast. Every day we wait, these girls are in more danger." Carmen couldn't sleep. She sat by her window looking out at the empty street and praying for her daughter. Diego found her there at 3 a.m. "Mama, you need to rest. Rosa is strong. She's going to come home." "I should have trusted my instincts," Carmen whispered. "Something felt wrong about that woman, but the money was so good and we needed it so badly." "This isn't your fault," Diego said firmly. "Rosa made her choice because she loves us. Now we have to trust that the police will find her." What they didn't know was that Rosa, at that very moment, was scratching a message into the concrete wall of her prison with a small piece of metal she had found. She was leaving clues, hoping that someday someone would find them and know she had been there. The search for Rosa was just beginning, but already the wheels of justice were starting to turn. Rosa had been counting days by scratching tiny marks on the wall with her small piece of metal. 7 days. 1 week since her world had turned upside down. But today felt different. Today she had noticed something important. The man who brought her food always wore the same jacket. It had a logo on the pocket. Tony's Pizza, with a phone number underneath. Rosa had memorized every digit. She also noticed that when he walked down the hallway, his footsteps echoed in a specific way. The building was old, and the sounds traveled. More. Importantly, Rosa had figured out that there was a small gap under her door. It was barely wide enough to slide a piece of paper through, but it was enough. Now she just needed paper and something to write with. That afternoon, when the man brought her lunch, Rosa pretended to be sicker than usual. She lay on the mattress and moaned softly. The man looked annoyed, but didn't seem too concerned. "I need medicine," Rosa whispered. "My stomach hurts really bad. Please, I need help." The man grunted and left. An hour later, he returned with a woman Rosa hadn't seen before. The woman checked Rosa's forehead and gave her 2 white pills and a small cup of water. "Take these. You'll feel better," the woman said in accented English. Rosa palmed one of the pills and pretended to swallow both. After they left, she examined the pill carefully. It was small and white with letters printed on it. But more importantly, it had come wrapped in a tiny piece of paper with the pharmacy name and address. Now, Rosa had what she needed. Meanwhile, Detective Chen was making progress. She had interviewed all the families of the missing girls and found the connection she was looking for. 3 of the families remembered the same woman, well-dressed, kind, offering jobs that seemed too good to be true. The woman always asked very specific questions, said Mrs. Gutierrez, whose daughter Anna had disappeared 2 months earlier. She wanted to know if Anna had a boyfriend, if she talked to many people, if she was close to her family. Detective Chen nodded. These traffickers were smart. They specifically targeted girls who wouldn't be immediately missed by a large social circle. Her partner, Detective Torres, had been working the financial angle. Lisa, I found something interesting. All of these families mentioned that the woman paid for small things during her visits. Coffee, lunch, gas money. I traced some of those payments. And, Chen asked, looking up from her notes, they all came from the same account. An account that's been making similar small payments all over the state. This isn't just local, Lisa. This is organized. Back in her cell, Rosa was working on her plan. She had torn a tiny corner off the pharmacy paper and was using the crushed pill mixed with water to make a kind of ink. With a thin splinter from her mattress, she carefully wrote a message in the smallest letters she could manage. Rosa Morales. Help, near Tony's Pizza. She added the phone number and the address from the pharmacy paper. The message was so small it would be easy to miss, but Rosa hoped someone would find it. She waited until the middle of the night when the building was quiet, then carefully slid the tiny paper under her door. Rosa had noticed that every morning someone swept the hallway. She hoped whoever found her message would understand and help her. Carmen hadn't given up hope, but the waiting was destroying her. She had contacted every news station, posted on every social media page she could find, and called the police station daily. Diego had printed hundreds of flyers with Rosa's picture and distributed them all over town. We have to do more, Carmen told Mrs. Rodriguez. The police are trying, but we can't just sit here. What do you want to do? Her neighbor asked. I want to go to the city. I want to look for her myself. Detective Chen was surprised when Carmen showed up at the police station with a suitcase and a determined expression. Mrs. Morales, I told you we're doing everything we can. Going to the city won't help Rosa. With respect, Detective, sitting at home isn't helping her either. I'm her mother. I know her better than anyone. Maybe I can see something you've missed. Chen studied Carmen's face and saw the same determination she recognized in herself. Okay, but you have to promise me you'll follow my lead. No going off on your own. This could be dangerous. That same day, a cleaning woman named Patricia was working the early morning shift at an old warehouse building. She swept the hallways like she did every day, paying careful attention to her work. Patricia took pride in keeping the building clean, even though it wasn't the nicest place. As she swept near one of the locked doors, her broom picked up a tiny piece of paper. She almost threw it away, but something made her look at it more closely. The writing was so small she had to squint to read it. Patricia's blood ran cold as she read the words. She had heard about missing girls on the news. She knew she had to do something, but she was also scared. These were dangerous people. Patricia carefully put the tiny paper in her pocket and finished her shift as normally as possible. But her hands were shaking. When she got home, she called the police tip line. I found something, she whispered into the phone. A message from a girl named Rosa Morales. I think she's in trouble. Detective Chen got the call 30 minutes later. We need to move fast, she told Torres. If this is real, we finally have a location. Rosa didn't know if her message had been found, but she felt a tiny spark of hope for the first time in days. She had done something. She had fought back in the only way she could. That night, as she lay on her thin mattress, Rosa whispered a prayer of gratitude for Patricia, a woman she had never met but who might just be her lifeline to freedom. The breakthrough everyone had been waiting for was finally here. Detective Chen stared at the tiny piece of paper under her desk lamp. The writing was so small she needed a magnifying glass to read it clearly. Rosa Morales, help, near Tony's Pizza, followed by a phone number and what looked like a pharmacy address. This is it, she told Detective Torres. This is our break. Within an hour, they had located Tony's Pizza on the east side of the city. The pharmacy address led them to a small drugstore just 3 blocks away. Chen felt her heart racing as they drove through the neighborhood, looking for buildings that could house people against their will. There, Torres pointed to an old warehouse with boarded windows. That building looks abandoned, but look at the parking lot. There are fresh tire tracks. Chen called for backup, but she kept it quiet. Too many police cars would alert anyone inside and put Rosa and any other victims in more danger. Patricia met them at the coffee shop across the street from the warehouse. Her hands were still shaking as she handed over the tiny message. "I clean that building every morning at 6, she explained. "I found this yesterday under one of the locked doors on the second floor. I've been working there for 2 years, and those doors are always locked. But sometimes I hear things moving around up there." "What kind of things?" Chen asked gently. "Footsteps. Sometimes crying. I always wondered, but I was scared to ask questions. These aren't nice people." Carmen had insisted on coming along despite Chen's protests. She sat in the police car, gripping Diego's hand as they watched the warehouse from a distance. "She's in there," Carmen whispered. "I can feel it. My Rosa is in there." At exactly 3 a.m., when the building was quietest, the police team moved in. They had studied the layout and identified 2 entrances. Chen led one team through the main door, while Torres took his team around back. The building was dark and smelled of mold and neglect. Chen's flashlight beam cut through the darkness as they climbed the stairs to the second floor. Her heart was pounding, but her training kept her focused. They found the first locked door Patricia had mentioned. Chen listened carefully and heard the faintest sound of breathing inside. "Rosa," she called softly. "Rosa, this is the police. We're here to help you." There was a moment of silence, then a voice so quiet Chen almost missed it. "Help me. Please help me." It was Rosa. The door was reinforced, but Torres had brought the right tools. As they worked to open it, Chen kept talking to Rosa, letting her know she was safe, that her family was waiting for her. When the door finally opened, Chen's flashlight revealed a small concrete room with Rosa huddled in the corner. She was thin and scared, but her eyes were alert and determined. "Are you really the police?" Rosa asked, squinting in the light. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm Detective Chen. Your mother sent us to find you." Rosa began to cry for the first time since she'd been taken, not from sadness but from overwhelming relief. "There are others," Rosa said quickly. "Other girls, in rooms down the hall. Please help them too." The rescue operation continued through the night. They found 3 other young women, all scared but alive. As each door opened, Chen felt a mixture of joy and anger. Joy that they were safe. Anger that this had happened at all. When Rosa finally walked out of that building, Carmen was waiting. Mother and daughter held each other and cried as Diego wrapped his arms around both of them. "I knew you'd find a way," Carmen whispered to Rosa. "I knew you were too strong to give up." "I never stopped believing you'd come for me," Rosa replied. The first few weeks after rescue were harder than Rosa had expected. She was safe, she was home, but the experience had changed her. She had nightmares and jumped at unexpected sounds. Sometimes she felt angry for no reason, and other times she felt nothing at all. "This is normal," explained Dr. Martinez, the counselor who specialized in helping survivors. "Your mind and body went through trauma. Healing takes time, and it's not always a straight line." Carmen never left Rosa's side. During those early days, she took time off work, and the whole community rallied around their family. Mrs. Rodriguez organized meal deliveries. The local church raised money to help with medical expenses. Diego appointed himself as Rosa's personal bodyguard, barely letting her out of his sight. "I feel guilty sometimes," Rosa confided to Dr. Martinez during one of their sessions. "So many people are helping me, but what about the girls who haven't been found yet?" "That guilt shows your caring heart," Dr. Martinez replied. "But right now, your job is to heal. You can't help others if you don't take care of yourself first." The legal proceedings began 3 months after Rosa's rescue. Linda and several others involved in the trafficking ring had been arrested. Rosa was nervous about testifying, but Detective Chen prepared her thoroughly. "You don't have to be brave for anyone else," Chen told her. "Just tell the truth. Your truth is powerful enough." On the day Rosa testified, Carmen and Diego sat in the courtroom behind her. Rosa's voice was quiet but steady as she told her story. She described how Linda had gained her trust, how she had been deceived, and how she had never given up hope. "I wrote that message because I refused to disappear," Rosa said, looking directly at the judge. "I have a family who loves me and a community that was looking for me. I wasn't going to let these people make me invisible." The defendants were sentenced to lengthy prison terms. Linda received 25 years. As Rosa watched them being led away, she felt something shift inside her. It wasn't revenge or satisfaction exactly. It was closure. 6 months after her rescue, Rosa made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She wanted to go back to school, but she also wanted to do something more. "I want to help other families," she told Carmen. "When someone goes missing, the families don't know what to do or who to trust. I want to help them navigate the system." Rosa enrolled in a program to become a victim advocate while finishing her college degree. She started speaking at HFY Schools about recognizing recruitment tactics used by traffickers. Her presentations were simple but powerful. "If a job offer sounds too good to be true, it probably is," she would tell students. "Trust your instincts, and always tell someone where you're going." Detective Chen became Rosa's mentor in this new path. "You have a gift," Chen told her. "Survivors trust you in a way they can't trust others. You've been where they've been." A year after her rescue, Rosa received a letter that made her cry happy tears. It was from a girl named Isabella, whose family had heard Rosa speak at their daughter's school. "My daughter almost went with someone who offered her a modeling job," the letter read, "but she remembered your presentation and called me instead. You saved my daughter from what you went through. Thank you." Rosa kept that letter in her wallet. On difficult days when the memories felt too heavy, she would read it and remember why her experience, as painful as it was, had meaning. Diego grew up a lot during that year. He started volunteering with the organization Rosa worked with, helping to design social media campaigns to educate young people about staying safe. "My sister is the strongest person I know," he would tell people. "She turned the worst thing that ever happened to her into something that helps other people." Carmen watched her daughter with pride and amazement. Rosa had not just survived. She had transformed her pain into purpose. 2 years after her rescue, Rosa stood in front of a group of police officers, teaching them how to interview trafficking survivors with sensitivity and understanding. "Remember that we're not just victims," she told them. "We're survivors. We have strength you might not see at first. Your job is to help us find our voices and use them." Rosa had reclaimed her life, but more than that, she had expanded it. She had turned her darkest moment into a light that guided others out of their own darkness. The girl who had once whispered for help in a concrete room was now a voice of hope for countless others. And that, Rosa knew, was the most powerful victory of all.